Hand the microphone over to Gene. Gene, one of the reasons why I think you're so damn sexy, other than the fact that you have a shiny bald head, is because you're not physically touching property. You're actually making money, generating and managing paper. So, hypothetical scenario, you and I have done several transactions. I've been involved investing in your business, including in my 401k for the last 3 years. Build a portable shed, sell it, let's just say hypothetically $5,000. Customer comes in, puts a small deposit on the building, and then generates this RTO contract that an investor can come along and buy. I buy it from you. Everything is great until they stop paying. Now, I'm wondering how this works. This is a specific question. Let's just say you have an RTO contract, they pay for 3 or 4 months. It's a 36-month contract, hypothetically. And then after the 4th month, something happens and they no longer want to pay. So what recourse do you take in the event of a non-payer or a repossession?
When you buy a house or a storage shed from us, obviously rent-own, they have to, if they go to delinquent, they have the right to want to return the property back to you. And so you have to go out there and repossess it and all of that. But primarily, I mean, sort of a little bit of a long way to go on around to answering your question here. I tell all of my office staff all the time that you can make all the sales in the world. You can sell as many houses you want to. You can rent them out and all this kind of stuff. If your sales department is stronger than your collections department, you've got a problem. You need your collectors to be strong, almost stronger than your sales department. You've really got to make sure that you're on top of the game. I will not, we do a lot of deals where you pay the first month's payment down. That's all you do. And the reason is because it's a very low risk deal, obviously. I mean, it doesn't cost me that much to go repossess a shed. And, there's nothing you can do really to my shed. You can go beat it up with a hammer or something like that. I can repair that pretty easily, not a problem. But we have 95% of our clients are set up on HCH draft. And if there's anything that you want to take home with you tonight, I don't care if you're renting houses, what you're doing. If you're in the collections business, get HCH forms signed. If they are, most banks, if your client does not have money in the bank, but you have got a form signed, banks normally will pass that through. Now, it depends on a given deal, but we have found that a lot of banks, we get calls every month. People call and say, hey, you drafted money out of my account. There wasn't any money there. Now I'm in the negative. The bank's all over my butt about it. You shouldn't have done that. Well, so, you signed the form. Basically, so you really want to make sure your collections department is very strong. But back to your question again, I mean, you deal with that. Our repossession rate right now out of 1,000 sheds is going to be probably somewhere in the realm of about 5%, roughly. And the reason is most people need the shed to store their stuff. Their precious items are in the shed. They don't want to let go of it, and that sort of thing. But we do repossess a lot of a few sheds, and we have repossessed sheds that have had nice $12,000 Harley Davidson motorcycles in them. We have repossessed sheds that have had cars in them. We've about seen it all when it comes to repossessing the shed.
Yeah, really with a rent-to-own scenario, you're not necessarily selling it to them and providing financing it. You're renting it to them on a month-to-month basis, and they have the option to return the item back to you at any point in time.
That is correct.
Technically, it's not a repossession, it's just returning the item to the rightful owner.
Yeah, it's a little bit also like, for instance, you see these pods all over town, pods of Memphis. We do the same thing. If you need a pod, if you're doing a renovation on a house, you need some short-term storage for 3 months, call our office. We can help you with that. We can do a way better job than Pods of Memphis and cheaper and all that as well. But we do all that. So we're very well prepared that if in the event we need to repossess, we can repossess very quickly, bring it back onto one of our dealership lots, and clean it up and turn around and resell it and put it back on our RTO contract and
Resell.
yeah. So you've got pickup costs and little things like that, but that's about it.
All right, thank you. Let's go to Kevin. Again, all three of these guys, different niches, totally different, but they're essentially in the same business. They're in the collections business. Whether it's a single family, a multifamily, or a rent-to-own contract on a portable shed, it's an active investment vehicle that they have to manage. And you're self-managing your own assets. Most of these guys are self-managing their own investment properties or their own assets. So if they're not on top of their game when it comes to collections, their asset's not going to be working. So Kevin, you're managing 65 yours, you said, roughly. So I would imagine all your tenants are on time, they never pay late, you never have a problem at all. Because you're in the multifamily niche.
That's right, and they're all A1.
Yeah. How do you deal with collections issues?
Well, we're all risk managers too, and that starts on the front end, with the application process, with the screening. When I started doing this, I would meet the prospective tenant there, I would shake their hand, I'd look them in the eye, we'd talk a little bit, and I'd probably rent to them or not rent to them, but it was right then. And then I got a little more sophisticated, and I might actually call and check, make sure they were working where they said they were working. You learn as you go, and as the context changes, you adapt to it. When the casinos opened, there was just a sea change in the ability of people to pay their rent. I don't know if anybody else noticed it then, but people began to be late and to have excuses that it would, just maybe I was being hypersensitive to it. I thought, man, something's going on here.
Right.
So over the years, I've adapted, and I'm sure, certainly Gene's probably way ahead on the way he screens people, but we do a pretty thorough job on that. So that's important, number one, is to, try to make sure you're starting out with a good candidate. When they get behind, I'm just real, I'm probably too easy, too slack. I'm straightforward with them. I'll say, look, you're behind. I send a monthly statement, show their payments, we log every payment, date received. I'll send them a copy of that. I give them notices. I've got 3-day letters. One of the problems that, one of the requirements that, as Richard said, is you have to be very consistent when you're dealing with multifamily. You can't let one person slide because you know their personal situation and be strict with another. So you have to be pretty consistent across the board. It's just a matter of knocking on doors. You got to go do that. You got to get in their face sometimes and give ultimatums. But
if they get behind, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
If they get behind, will you work with them to catch up? I mean,
yes, I do that.
okay.
And the other school of thought is no, be consistent. On the 6th day, the default notice goes out. I'm not that rigid. I really do try to work with them. Then you there's always a line you have to draw.
Yeah.
And that's the hard judgment to make. But there's a practical reason for doing it as well. You want to be empathetic with people. A lot of the stories are true, actually. But the practical reason is if you have a tenant that's behind a month, maybe 2, I don't let them slide more than 2. And I can get something out of that by working with them. If I can begin to whittle that down, set them up on payment plans, do what I have to do, I'm better to get something than just pull the plug.
It's a really tough area.
It is.
Because it's a gray area in this business. I do the same thing. I will tend to work with my tenants when they get behind. I don't want them to get more than a month and a half behind, and then I get a little anxious. But if they're within 1 to 2 months and they have a pattern of consistently catching up, I'll tend to work with them because it's cheaper to keep them than it is to kick them out and start fresh. However, you play a dangerous game when you do that because they could easily slip, and it's amazing how good tenants are at lying to you and coming up with reasons why they can't pay the rent.